Hello, and welcome to this edition of Political Smackdown. We sincerely appreciate your tuning in and sitting back and ready to learn something or maybe have a laugh or two about local or state or national news. Before we get started today on politics, as far as disagreeing and things like that, I want to begin today and pay tribute to a Cleveland County native who served in the North Carolina House and on the North Carolina Utilities Commission, Judy Hunt Kohler, who died recently in her hometown of Blowing Rock. She was the eldest daughter of NC House member Dr. John Jack Hunt and Ruby Crowder Hunt, growing up in Lattimore with her 4 sisters. She served for 4 terms in the North Carolina House alongside her father, the only daughter-father duo at that time, and that was in 1985. She was only 36 when she became a representative and represented 5 counties in western North Carolina. My home county of Ashe was one of those counties. During her 4th term, Governor Jim Hunt appointed her to the powerful North Carolina Utilities Commission, where she served 8 years. While in the House, she championed several causes. What else do you remember about Judy Hunt Kohler? Andy, you remember?
I met her. I was down there for something, and I forget what it was. And they were in session, and she came out, sat down on the couch with me, and we talked a little bit. I said, "Not much going on." She said, "No." That's when I finally found out there was a truthful person down there telling what was going on. And she was really a nice. I didn't know her real well, but it was an interesting thing. I don't think there has been another father-daughter combination since Judy was there. But it's a terrible loss for the folks around Blowing Rock, and I know her sisters miss her terribly because it hadn't been that long since they lost both their mom and dad. So I just say I think she acquitted herself well. I've never heard anything negative about her, other than she just did her job, and I think that's what the best thing you can be remembered for.
Amen. All right, Wes, you've been down there at the General Assembly and know what it's like.
I have been. It's hot.
It's hot
in the summertime. Certainly condolences to the family. I did not know her. To my knowledge, I probably met her at some point along the way, but certainly a distinguished career and following in her father's footsteps. And while she did not represent Cleveland County, Betsy, I think you'd certainly have to include that under this umbrella of the Shelby Cleveland dynasty that continues on even today.
In the western part of the state.
Yes.
All right, Mike, what about you?
Well, I know 3 of the Hunt sisters, but Judy I don't remember ever meeting. She was the oldest, I believe.
She was.
But I graduated from high school with Libby Hunt, and then Penny Hunt, her sister, was just a little bit older, and she's married to Jim Corn, that a lot of people in Cleveland County know has been a great tennis player at Shelby High School and has coached Gardner-Webb tennis up till I guess now they're getting rid of the tennis team at Gardner-Webb. But and of course, I know Sally, the youngest daughter, who's married here locally to David Royster and the Royster family. But I never knew Judy, but I think it's a very interesting thing and a good thing for Cleveland County to make note of, that we once in the 80s had a father-daughter duo in the North Carolina General Assembly from here. And of course, for those who may be new to Cleveland County, back in the days that the Democrats dominated North Carolina politics, Jack Hunt rose to be the Speaker Pro Tem of the House and chairman of the Rules Committee, which was even better, wasn't it, Andy?
Oh, a whole lot better.
And so he set the agenda, and only Liston Ramsey for most of those years could overrule him. If he wanted it on the floor, it went. And I'm sure, I bet her bills that she wanted on the floor got on the floor. What do you think?
Oh, I imagine they were on like a speeding bullet coming through there.
But they also, she and her husband had a real estate firm
They
in
did.
Blowing Rock and been very active up there. So condolences to the county. This is relatively recently. It was, I think, in late April that she passed away.
When she was young, she was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. And you know, this is back when there wasn't very much medicine or quite not as much research. So one of her pet projects was to improve innovative diabetes care and research across the state. She was instrumental in obtaining funds for the Diabetes Center of Excellence at the North Carolina UNC School of Medicine. Her daughter, Jackie, worked for Beverly Purdue, and I believe Beverly and Judy were roommates in college. Somebody told, I've heard that over the years. But anyway, and she's survived too by another sister, Cindy Martin. But the four sisters are here in the county, and we're just really sorry. But you know, when you live a life that you've given to public service, then after you're gone, people will remember you fondly. So our condolences to the Hunt family. The next thing is Cleveland Community College, where we tape Political Smackdown, had a big celebration this past week, the groundbreaking for the new Student Center. A crowd gathered at the side of the new Beam Student Center to kick off the building project. What will this mean to the students and the college? Describe the building and what's to be housed there. All right, Mike, while they're talking,
Well, I did not attend the groundbreaking, but I did watch the 50 minutes or so of it that is on the YouTube channel that you can watch if you'd like to on the Cleveland Community College C19 YouTube channel. It was a very nice ceremony. Mr. Beam, who is, I think, made his business fortune in pharmaceuticals, has given a $3 million gift, and hence the naming of the building. But my understanding is that's for other things in and around the building, and that the building has basically been fully funded already by the state of North Carolina. So student centers are great. I remember when the Tucker Center was built on Gardner Webb, and I went out there when Jason and Emily were getting out of Gardner Webb several years ago, and it really added a lot to the Gardner Webb campus, and I'm sure this will be a great asset to the students here at Cleveland Community College.
All right, Andy.
Well, it really is an ongoing process out here at the community college. There's a building swing's been going on for how long now? We've got new buildings sprouting up like you would dandelions in the summer in my yard. I mean, it's really been good, and to have that much money that was donated, I think is a wonderful thing. It helps taxpayers out some, and you know, I really do appreciate the Beam family doing what they've done. I mean, it's very helpful, and to be able to put it all together in one place, from admissions, financial aid, whatever, it's going to be a one-stop shop. But my question is, what are we going to do with parking? Because where it's going is in the main parking lot behind this building that we're speaking in right now. So I have no idea how they're going to do that. Some people have suggested maybe a parking deck, but where in the world would you put that? And I mean, those things aren't cheap either. So I don't know, but I think it's a great thing, Betsy, and I look forward to seeing it when it's finished.
All right, Wes,
Yeah.
you've been on that board of trustees and chaired it.
I have,
And
and
you know
Andy,
the community college.
yes, and Andy, you made a good point. Currently, if you want to register, you go one place. If you need financial aid, you go to another. It's all over the campus. And it's very frustrating, particularly for new students that don't know what buildings, what, and where this office is and that. It's really going to bring that together, aside from a center point for students collectively. And I think it's going to make a huge difference on the campus, the feel of campus. Parking's going to be a problem, granted, but I'm sure there's a plan in place. But we had dealt with this from the time I first went on this board at the college, with how scattered these offices were. So this is very thoughtful planned. I think it's going to be a positive thing. Mike, this money will go to scholarships, which will make it even easier for students to attend here. I think that's phenomenal. But, you know, at the end of the day, this comes down to the growth that we see here on this campus. It's evident this will be the largest class graduating next week from community college ever. This is the 4th year in a row that's happened. That is the impetus, the need for some of this expansion we're seeing, the expansion in programs. And it really makes the point of how critical this college is to this county at this time. And I think that's true across North Carolina with the community college system. So we're happy to have this leadership and see the growth right here in Cleveland County.
Betsy, Mr. Beam, who made the who made a little speech in that 50-minute program, he told that he had some medical issues. He was in the hospital, and the nurses took good care of him. And 2 of them that did, he asked them where they went to school to get their nursing degrees, and they told him they went to Cleveland Community College. And that apparently is what spurred his conversations with the college, with Dr. Hurst, and so forth. So I thought that was a very interesting way that he came to be interested in making that donation.
Well, and Betsy, one thing too, I think we take our hat off to Dr. Hurst. I mean, since he's been here, he has really moved things forward quickly. I mean, it used to be, somebody said, well, I went to community college, Cleveland Community College, and didn't have much of an impressive feel to it. But now it's really becoming a real college. And I think I attribute a lot of that to Dr. Hurst and the trustees. I mean, it's not building just to build. It's to house something that's needed. I mean, just like we got booted out of the Bailey building down there, they've made that whole building nursing now. And that is an ongoing thing for our county, that we need nurses. There is no doubt of that. And that's just one thing. Then you've got the heavy equipment on down the road here where they back off the road a good bit. You can learn how to drive a semi-truck. I mean, there's a lot. And don't even forget about the lineman program we got. So when you look at all this all together, these are some practical jobs that people need, and they can get a skill here.
And they're well-paying jobs at relatively little cost to the training required to get into these fields.
And the cost of going to a community college like Cleveland instead of to a 4-year college, it is so minimal to what? So you get out of college with a 4-year degree. If you go to Cleveland and get the first 2 years, half of what it'd be if you went 4 years to a 4-year school. And the community college has always been like a bridge between high school and college. And that way for students that maybe are leery about going to a 4-year school, I know about students that go to Carolina and then suddenly they're in classes that are like 300 or 200. And you know, they're not used to that, where you can come to the community college and grow up and then move on. But before we leave this, I want to say something about the beautiful signs that we now have marking where Cleveland Community College is. It looks like a big university. And I know Dr. Hurst and the trustees and everyone planned that, and they look really good. So we're delighted with Cleveland Community College. Like I said, this is where we take Political Smackdown, and appreciate very much the program here. And with that, we're going to go to break, and we'll be back. Stay with us for Political Smackdown.
Hi, I'm Tim Foster, your host for Bull and Bold monthly right here on C19 TV. Get to know the coaches and student athletes of Cleveland Community College Athletics on Bull and Bold. We go in depth as we discuss cross country, track and field, volleyball, baseball, men and women's basketball, and softball. Catch Bull and Bold airing on C19 TV and online at C19.tv.
At Education is our most powerful tool to improve and change our world. Hi, I'm Rhonda Benfield, your host for School Matters. Join me for a new program every other week with information from and about the students and staff of Cleveland County Schools. Discover what our schools are doing to challenge students and help them reach their full potential. You can catch us on Spectrum Cable Channel 19 or stream us live on c19.tv.
And welcome back to the last half of Political Smackdown. I hope you got another cup of coffee or Coca-Cola and that you're ready to tune in with us and see what else we're going to talk about. Well, Marion School continues to be in the news. May 8th was the deadline for the bids for the county sale of this former elementary school. There has been a flurry of activity, and bring us up to date on the bids, Mike.
Well, to the best of my ability to recollect, I believe Jerry Allen started off the bidding at $253,000, and then one more, one less raised it the minimum. You have to raise it 10% of the first 1,000 plus 5% of the remainder. And then after that, I believe Jerry or Ebenezer Baptist Association 1 made the next bid. And then Jerry is now the high bidder again as we tape, unless it's changed overnight. But until May 14th, while this will be on the air, there will be a drop dead date. But this process can go on indefinitely as long as somebody keeps raising it. So Andy, they've gone from originally $140,000 with it would have been a negotiated deal, which could have been countered and gone up some, but now we're at least going to find out as far as for the public dollars that will come back to the school system, assuming they decide to accept the highest bid. We're going to find out just how much that building in its condition in that location is worth to somebody who thinks they can make the building prosperous, make the building usable again. At least I think that's the way it'll go. I sort of got my doubts anybody's going to tear it down and build houses there.
Although that was a rumor, wasn't it?
It
Mike?
could, that certainly could be. It's zoned R10 in Shelby, which is the strictest residential zone, but institutional uses like churches, schools, some other nonprofits are permissible in that zone. So using it for one of those purposes, and I get through the grapevine that may be one of the purposes. One of those may be related to what Jerry Allen would do. Obviously, Ebenezer Baptist Association and one more, one less would be those types of uses as well.
All right, Wes, did you place a bid? Did we miss your bid?
Apparently, no, I have not placed a bid and will not be placing a bid on that. That's way out of my league. But yeah, I don't know that I can add any more to it. The public clearly wanted this process to go forward. It's going forward. It's roughly double the perceived value, the potential sale, and this money will go back into the schools for the sale. So we'll see where it goes from here, but like Mike said, this could go on for quite a while. We'll see where it tops out is the maximum value that they can get.
And what did Mr. Allen say he was going to do with this?
He has not said.
Oh, he has not said. All right, Andy, what about you?
Well,
Did you place a bid?
heck no. If Wes can't afford it, I know I can't. Well, and I think it's going to be an interesting thing to see how this finally plays out. Now, you made the point about maybe building houses, something like that. Well, you can look around Shelby. If you can find a plot of dirt that they can build something on, they're building something. Mm-hmm. I would think that would be a bad thing if they're going to put that type of housing in that neighborhood. It just would not.
Certainly doesn't fit what's there.
No, it does not. So I would hope that wouldn't happen. But whoever buys this has got their hands full, really, Betsy. I mean, you've got an older school. I'm sure there's asbestos in there somewhere. There's lead paint. I mean, there had been roof issues in the past. I don't know if that's still happening or not. I mean, it's kind of functionally obsolete, to be honest, for anything else but some type of school. You could make a church out of it, I would think. It would be difficult in some ways because I like a church look like a church, and that really doesn't. But you know, I'm glad that there's some interest in this thing, and it will come back as something instead of just an empty building.
Well, and I think the community's happy too to get more money. You know, there was concerns about how cheaply it was going at the very beginning. But I guess we just need to tune in same time next week and let's see what's happened. And Mike, the date that it's been set for the final bid swap?
Well, I think Jerry Allen's expires May 14th, if
May
our memory's
14th.
correct. But so anytime up to 5 p.m. on that day, somebody could upset it. That restarts the 10 days again.
Okay, all right, well, we'll just see what happens. Well, let's move on to something that happened in the state last week. It was the teacher rally. Thousands of teachers went to Raleigh last Friday, and not only thousands of North Carolina teachers, support personnel, school administrators, and supporters gathered in Raleigh this past week to shine a light on the plight of public schools and the need for additional funding. And there you see a picture of them, and red and white has been the teachers' rally in colors. They marched during the time that all school systems are preparing their next year's budget, and so many are budgets, and so many of them are decreasing budgets. What do you think about this activity? Wes, we're going to let you start.
Well, I'm going to start with, I agree teachers need more competitive wages and haven't had a raise in 2 years. So let's get that on the table. I do think, however, in that picture you put up, I saw a hammer and sickle on one of those shirts.
Oh, my.
Oh, I don't think so, Wes.
You know, we talked on this show about, well, we've learned our lessons from COVID and the school shut down and how detrimental that was to our students. I think it's a dadgum travesty that teachers essentially shut down schools. We had, I think there were 17 school districts that closed for this day so that these teachers could go march in Raleigh when no members of the General Assembly were in Raleigh. They weren't in session. This was nothing but a made for TV, made for a headline, and it's a shame. We talk about teachers haven't had a raise for 2 years. Let's not forget that the North Carolina Public Schools received $6.2 billion between 2020 and 2025. Notice I got my years right this time, Mike. To aid schools and educators through the COVID-19 pandemic, including nearly $1 billion on bonus pay. So it's not quite as bad as maybe it's been represented. We hear all the time about how teachers have to spend money for school supplies out of pocket. According to DPI, North Carolina spends right at $950 per student for supplies. That's $20,000 per classroom each year. Betsy, I don't doubt that there's money problems within the systems, but if teachers are having to purchase supplies out of pocket when $20,000 per classroom is being allotted, the problem's not with the budget. The problem is with the allocation of the money.
And I guess I would love to see those classrooms that have $20,000.
This is according to DPI.
Well, all right, Andy, go ahead.
Well, I disagree with Wes about the hammer and sickle. I think that's the state of
I didn't
North
say
Carolina.
I saw it. I said I thought I saw it.
You're just bad today, Wes, I tell you.
Wes.
Well,
Go ahead, Andy.
Here's the thing of it. You kind of stole my thunder because I was going to say there weren't any members of General Assembly there. And that would have made more of an impact. I can remember, Wes, one time the state employees got hot and bothered.
Yes.
And they came walking through the main building in a conga line. And they were like, it's like a long snake. They went up and down every hall. And I said, that got everybody's attention.
Absolutely.
Now, I'm sure a lot of people saw this and it was impressive, but it would have been a lot more impressive if they would have got there in the middle of the week and really lobbied hard. I mean, those folks would have been hiding in their office and everywhere else away from them. But that would have been more effective. I understand what they're doing, and they also want to try to get a 3-day weekend out of it. Let's just be honest. I mean, that's the way. But they were making a point of where they felt like they were being disenfranchised, and they were not getting the pay that they should get compared to other states. And I can't argue with them on that.
All right, Mike?
Well, some of the folks that were there were just simply teachers and support personnel that are frustrated with the lack of a new state budget. And poor teacher pay right now in North Carolina relative to most states, even those in the South. And that's in large part because they are still at their 23, 24 levels because of the state budget, other than their step increases or whatever they were entitled to. And so I get that frustration. But Betsy, I watched some of the interviews. There were literally, either if they were teachers, I don't know that they ought to be, but there were clearly people there speaking to media that were propagating a socialist agenda in North Carolina and had shirts on that said socialism or something. I don't know what, well, I don't think it was fascism. That wouldn't have surprised me
I didn't see
either.
that shirt.
I did in one of the newscasts I watched. So some of it was over the top. I think there was legitimate concern. I think you guys both make a valid point that it had been more effective if they'd have gone when the General Assembly was actually there.
Yeah.
But Senator Berger, who's on his way out, has said that his concern is for the parents. He doesn't think there's any question that everybody's in agreement that to the degree the state has the capacity, they've got to work on paying teachers more. And if I can maybe be in advance of hopefully next week's news while this is showing, I'm hearing rumors now that there is a compromise in the making, and it sounds to me like that maybe one side will give on the state hospital, the other side will give on the lowering the tax rates and let that stay like it is, and then if it doesn't meet a trigger, it doesn't happen. And I think the real sticking point is now is where's the compromise between the 8.7% over the biennium that the House proposed for average teacher pay versus the 3.3% the Senate paid. My guess is it's going to be around 6% over 2 years. I don't know that. That's pure speculation. But right now we're in 3 to 4% inflation. So 3 to 4% a year is not unreasonable right now. So I hope that that will come to pass, but I do get their frustration, Betsy.
And having been at these marches for many, many times over my teaching career and going down on days that the General Assembly members were there so you could actually go in, you can, you know, to spend the day in the General Assembly takes time. And so I think they chose this time to start off on a Friday and to march. And what the school systems did was just switch the calendar. They had a day off for like Memorial Day that they switched so that for those ones that closed or whatever you call.
But at the last minute, you left a lot of parents, families
Well, they had announced this for a long time.
in a mess.
And they had announced it, and I'm not sure how many went from Cleveland County, but I know across the state it was a good number. And, you know, North Carolina spends $5,660 less per student than the national average, which is like $19,000. And then like $13,680 per student, while the national average is $19,000. Now, I saw a figure that said the average teacher pay is estimated at $59,971 in North Carolina. Now, that must be lumping in all the administrators and everything, because I didn't make $50,000 until I double dipped at the end of my career. But the national average for teachers is $76,552, and we're almost out of time. Andy, give me a lightning rod very quickly.
Real quick, shout out to our friend Wayne King. He and his new wife, Nikki, got married this past weekend. Well, congratulations, Wayne. I'm sure you're going to have a happy, long marriage.
All right, Mike.
Mayor Vi Lyles of Charlotte has been mayor since 2017. Before that, she was a budget analyst for the city of Charlotte and an assistant manager, ran for city council. And she says it's to spend time with her grandchildren. I hope that is all it is, and there's not a health issue that she doesn't want to talk about. But she has served longer as mayor of Charlotte now than all but one, Pat McCrory.
Pat McCrory. And Wes, you and I'll just have to do 2 lightning rounds next week. Thank y'all for being with us today. Come back next week for an edition of Political Smackdown.